code Game of Life in C++. So actually, Game of Life was devised by a British mathematician, John Horton Conway, in 1972. The game is a zero player game, meaning that its evolution is determined by its initial state, requiring no further input. One interacts with the game of life by creating an initial configuration and observing how it evolves on basically three basic rules that are any live cell with two or three neighbors survives. Any dead cell with three live neighbors become a live cell, and all other live cells die in the next generation. Similarly, all other dead cells stay dead. So these are the basic three rules that are followed in Game of Life. So actually, what I am going to do is how Game of Life is coded in C++. So actually, let's start. We will use multiple libraries, including the wheel fstream for reading files and other such libraries. So this video will be divided into two or maybe three parts depending upon workload. So we'll be starting off with some initialization and file handling, as the coordinates will be handled through file. We'll read the file and we will then give the initial coordinates through file. So basically, we will start from uh, writing C out, which I have already wrote it. That is C out. Welcome to the game of life. The next thing we are going to do is we will initialize some variables such as int iteration. Iteration is the number of uh, times the evolution will occur, and we'll initialize. Actually, this is for file handling with that the coordinates and all that part of initialization, initializing a grid. So we'll be I'm doing that part. So and values, the number of values is equals to 0, and in x is equals to 0. X is the coordinate in the grid, and int y is equals to 0. And we'll initialize an array, a two-dimensional array, which will make uh, a grid x and y. So I'll name it grid 1 and x y. No, actually, I'm going to make a variable of constant in size. Size equal to 30, which will make a grid an array of size 30. So actually what I did is that I initialized some variables, and I initialized a grid, which is an array, two-dimensional array with size as its the number of elements in that array, which is 30 for this. And now I'm going to handle the file. So I'll just type in write fstream, and then I'll fstream the name. So actually what I'm going to do is that I want the user to give the name of the file. So I'll take like I'll make a I'll make a string with name, a variable string, and then I'll ask the user to actually input the file name. Input file name. Then what I'm going to do is taken the user input and open that specific file. And now here we can use a check whether it tells the user that the file was open or it didn't open. So now what I will do is apply that check. If f stream actually f file f stream file. So if file dot fair brackets, this means that if the file hasn't opened, then we'll make a boolean. For example, boolean x is equals to false. This will let the user know that the file didn't open. So what I'm going to do is use a do and while that takes the user input until a correct file is not uh, entered by the user. So we'll use a do here and a bracket after. Okay, now write a condition that x is status, as x was the variable that we will take from the file as an input, x coordinate. So x is equals to status is equals to false. Status is equals to false. Then it will ask the user. I'll copy that at the top and write status here. Else status else 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 status is equals to true. Okay, now what we will do is write file to open the file again. If the and we will write IOSN. Actually, what I'm doing is that I'm taking the input from the file. So I'll take from file number of iterations, which is the number of times the evolution will occur, and then I'll take values, the number of coordinates that the file contains, and then in the for loop we'll take the coordinates, which will be the we'll initialize the for loop by int I is equals to 0, and the condition will be I is smaller than values, which is because plus plus, which is because the number of values are uh, we have to initialize the grid as from the file that how many values are there, and we are going to initialize according to it. And the statement will be if uh, file x file y, and then we will uh, initialize the grid accordingly. Grid 1 x y is equals to 1. We can use boolean true and false in this case also. Similarly, we used for the do while. It actually depends upon ourselves. So I use get 1 x y 0 x and y by initializing 1. And before this all file handling, we also have to do initialization of the grid. So we can do the initialization of the grid by two ways actually, which one is that we write 0 in curly parentheses, or the second way is to uh, uh, for loop, in which we use int I is equal to 0, and just the way we initialize, and I size is equal I small the condition will be I is smaller than size, and I plus plus. And the statement we'll use another for loop here, and in which we'll write and ij is equal to 0, and condition will be saying j is smaller than size, and j plus plus. And statement will be grade 1 I j is equal to 0, and this is how we initialize the grid. So now what is happening is that we initialized all the variables, and then we initialized the grid with 0. Then we took the input from the file and checked whether the file is present in that particular directory or not, and then they actually did is that we reopened that file. We took the we read the file and took iterations, number of evolutions, and then we took values, the number of coordinates, which and then we took each coordinate and initialized the grid with 1 at that particular x and y. And now what we are going to do is Now what we are going to do is we are going to display uh, that grid, that first particular grid, which is by display grid. So actually, to display the grid, we will use two for loops, just as I did in the line 23 to 27. Initializing the grid, we'll copy that grid, that for loop, and we'll paste it here where we are going to display the grid, and we are going to actually uh, just apply two conditions. If statement, two ifs. If condition, if grid 1 I j is equals to 1, then it will see out star. Else it will see out a blank space. And Outside this for loop, we will write, and then as we have to give the space. So for this video, I'm going to only code this much, and I'll show you the outputs, what the output will be. I have already uh, kept the file I wanted to in that particular directory the in which the executable file is present. uh, the name of file is diehard.txt. These are the initial coordinates that is given by a file. I actually want to show you the file which is present here in Game of Life. Here's the file. So actually what happens in this file is that this is 130 is the number of coordinates, the number of times it will iterate, and then the 7 is the number of values. As we can see, 1, 14, 8, 9, 9, 13, 14, 15. If we count these, there are 7. Actually, the first one is x and the second is y, and similarly then x and y, x and y, x and y, and these all numbers add up to 7. So 7 pairs of coordinates, and which can be seen here in this output that the exe file has shown us. So for this video, that's all. We'll meet you in the next video.